Well, thank you, Neil, so much for being here and getting here. And, what I said on all sides of this issue, I was reminiscing, as you all know, I've recently rejoined Axios, and one of my first events for Axios back in, I don't know when it was, the first Trump administration, I was interviewing you, Neil, and you were probably chairman.
2017, I think.
Yeah, and you were perhaps in FERC at the time, perhaps the chairman. And before that, you were energy advisor to then Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. You're from Kentucky. You've supported coal for a long time and supported coal during the Trump administration. But now you're doing something else. You're on the other side of the energy equation. Why don't you share what you're up to now?
I don't think I'm on the other side of the energy equation. I think I'm part of a generally, comprehensive approach to figuring out how we are going to meet the coming surge in demand that the grid is going to face while maintaining reliability and affordability. And so I still very much stand by my roots and the work that I did in Kentucky in supporting an industry that for more than a century was critical to economic growth in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. But during my time at FERC, I really learned a lot and was given exposure to the opportunities that technological innovation could present to enable us to kind of advance into the 21st century and take advantage of some of that technological innovation. And so during my tenure at the commission, some of the work I'm proudest of is removing barriers to entry to innovative new technologies like batteries and energy storage and distributed energy resources like rooftop solar and storage and the like. And so I decided to continue to walk the walk in my post-government life. I'm now serving as the Chief Government Affairs Officer for a clean tech company called Palmetto, which is really an innovative kind of technology and finance company that I believe is at the precipice of the next phase of energy generation. Palmetto is already providing kind of single digits, the growth in new electricity generation in the country. I think that will only continue to grow. I think a lot of the initiatives I pursued while at the commission has enabled this kind of growth, and so I'm pretty excited about it. I think, but to your point when you said I'm on all sides, I think what differentiates me from
we'll call it a circle.
What differentiates me from others in this conversation is I'm not anti-fossil fuel. I'm not solely renewables need to do it all. I'm for a balanced approach. And I truly believe, looking at the surge in demand that the country is about to face, to meet the needs of data centers to support AI and streaming services and cloud computing and quantum computing and crypto and Bitcoin mining and a reshoring of manufacturing and semiconductor manufacturing. In order to do so, we need every available electron, and we need it ASAP. Time to market matters. And in my view, that means we're going to need resources like existing coal and existing gas. I think the timeline to get new gas online is a little bit elongated. In my view, solar plus storage with gas peakers to balance the grid is the quickest way that we can actually deploy the electrons necessary to win the AI race for national security purposes and meet this demand. So,
do you think the current Trump administration is doing that with wind and solar and batteries?
Look, I'll be candid. I'm a little bit frustrated with everybody. I was frustrated, quite frankly, with the Biden administration. I felt that my former colleagues at FERC, for instance, took steps to suppress capacity prices to accelerate the retirement of certain sources of fossil generation, including older coal plants and some gas peaker plants in various regions of the country. And I think we're now recognizing that those plants were needed, and I didn't like that they were putting their thumb on the scale for preferred sources of generation. I similarly am frustrated by the current administration's approach to not, kind of recognizing that in order to do this, we need it all. President Trump made two promises to the American people when it came to energy during the campaign. One was to win the AI race against China for national security purposes with a recognition that it would require a tremendous amount of electricity. And two was to significantly bring down the cost of electricity. Well, in order to do that, I think both parties are going to have to come out of their partisan corners. I think for the political left, there has to be a recognition that in order to win the AI race and keep energy affordable and reliable, we cannot do it without fossil fuels, and that we're going to need fossil fuels, particularly natural gas, to maintain reliability and affordability in the face of this demand. But for the political right, I think there has to be a recognition that we cannot possibly do this with fossil fuels alone, that we will not only need solar and storage and geothermal and nuclear, but we'll also need megawatts, things like grid-enhancing technologies that get increased efficiency out of existing infrastructure, virtual power plants, distributed energy resources, demand response, energy efficiency, things that conservatives have not historically embraced. I actually think AI and the national security implications of AI will be the thing that finally breaks us out of our probably 2 decades long sort of antiquated fight that we've had, to where if you're for fossil fuels, you're of the political right, and if you're for clean energy and climate solutions, you're of the political left. I think AI will be the thing that snaps us out of it.
Are you talking with current Trump administration officials?
I do. I talk to, with a number of folks all the time. They're serious people within the administration.
So what do they say when you tell them what you just told us?
So their focus is on reliability. And I think this is where, honestly, they've been very gracious in actually hearing me out and recognizing my experience, having been the country's principal reliability regulator. And so they're concerned. Their opposition isn't necessarily to these innovative, clean technologies. They had substantive problems. One was subsidies. Well, the OBBBA addressed that, and we're seeing now a significant wind down in the subsidies. And I actually think companies like my company, Palmetto, we're going to be better in the aftermath of the repeal of these subsidies, because we're now going to be in a place where we can demonstrate our actual business case and not be reliant on the arbitrage of taxpayer dollars. And then their other concern is in regards to reliability. And they're consistently making the case that, Neil, we're not opposed to solar, we're not opposed to storage. We just
But they are opposed to wind, and specifically offshore wind, right?
They have expressed their opposition clearly to in order, I would say, EVs, offshore wind, onshore wind.
You think EVs are above offshore wind?
I mean, it's hard to say, but
it's a tough competition for that
in
top
general, they raise legitimate concerns about reliability. And I do think, and I made this case during the Biden years, that I felt that the Biden administration was disregarding concerns about reliability, that they sort of were taking this approach that we're going to take the steps to advance the energy transition, and we'll just innovate our way out of reliability challenges down the road, or we'll just cross that bridge when we come to it. And having sat in the seat I sat in when I was at FERC, I understood like that you can't do that. Like, hope is not an energy strategy. We can't just plan like, oh, well, we'll invent something that will get us out of a reliability crisis down the road. So I think there is a lot
of innovation happening. We're about to hear from one after one leader after this.
I'm saying I'm trying to. Again, you said I'm on both sides. I'm coming full circle. I'm illustrating the full circle. I think the Biden administration perhaps ignored concerns about reliability, and I think the Trump administration is perhaps overemphasizing concerns about reliability. In both instances, they were pushing a political agenda. And if I have any message to come out of this, I think this is such a serious thing, winning the AI race and having the energy to do it. I want to take the politics out of the energy policy discussion. That'll be very boring for you at Axios as a reporter. I
don't like to cover politics, actually. But don't tell my bosses who are listening.
But I think that is the key, to be honest. I think both sides.
Speaking of politics, of course, there's been broad concern about the White House having an impact on independent federal agencies. Are you concerned about the White House having influence in the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which is supposed to be an independent federal agency?
Yeah, very much so. Look, I think FERC has very much been a beacon of stability in an otherwise volatile energy regulatory landscape for the past couple of decades. What do I mean by that? Look at U.S. EPA. EPA went one direction under the Obama administration, completely different direction under the first Trump administration, whipsawed back under the Biden administration, is now flipping back again under Trump 2.0. And I do some work in the private equity space. I can tell you from an investment standpoint, it is maddening to try and peg long-term investment decisions, 5, 10, 30-year investment decisions, to the political pendulum swinging wildly back and forth. FERC has been, I think, generally stable. Did FERC go in a different direction under my leadership than my predecessors in the Obama administration? Absolutely, but it wasn't a dramatically different direction. Did FERC go in a different direction with my successors in the Biden administration? For sure, but it wasn't a dramatically different direction. And even, quite frankly, in the first 6 months of this year, under Chairman Mark Christie, the Republican chair of the commission, FERC did not go in a drastically different direction than the past few years. And that stability, that certainty is so necessary for parties to make the requisite investments that are going to enable us to meet these energy challenges. And so if we turn FERC into EPA, and suddenly when Republicans are in charge of FERC, we're pursuing policies that are grounded in a construct around reliability that favor fossil fuels and firm resources, but then Democrats come in and they flip the emphasis to, finding new capacity and getting cleaner energy onto the grid, and we don't have that stability, it gets to be a challenge. And to me, the most interesting thing about it is this stuff is not cleanly political. The biggest issue before FERC right now is data center co-location. What does that mean?
Raise your hand if you know what that means. Okay,
There's a bunch of people that are following.
We have very smart people at Axios House.
Bunch of people following the data center co-location debate, right? The essential question is, in order to get power to data centers ASAP, it takes too long to get through the interconnection queues and to build new generation front of the meter. So the quickest way to do it is to build data centers to support AI directly behind the meter so they can plug into a generator and basically circumvent that process. And
I have a new name for it. It's BYOG, bring your own generation.
Bring your own generation. So
that's what we talked about at this morning roundtable.
Seems like a no-brainer until you recognize the trade-offs, right? So if we do that, then you're taking limited capacity at a time when capacity is already constrained behind the meter and out of the market, and you're therefore spreading increased costs amongst fewer and fewer ratepayers, and you're driving up the cost of electricity. On the other hand, and the more serious concern, because I think that component of it can be addressed because that's a math problem, that's a money problem, you can figure out cost allocation. The trickier issue is resource adequacy, that if FERC were to set a precedent on what it would take to get one of these data centers co-located behind the meter and get that generation, and that led to a flood of other applications for co-location deals, then you might be in a situation where on a really, really hot summer day or a really, really cold winter day, if the grid operator has to choose whether to send that power to a 24/7 data center to support AI or to residential consumers, I guarantee you it's going to the data center. And that means residential consumers could be without air conditioning on the hottest day of the summer or without heat on the coldest day of the winter. These are real questions, and they're not political. I can tell you, I have talked to people within the Trump administration who are on both sides of this. There are some who are like, I cannot believe FERC is standing in the way of us winning the AI race. They're setting us behind China. This is going to have serious economic and national security ramifications. I've heard others saying, no, I appreciate that FERC's kind of pumping the brakes on this because electricity prices are already high, and we don't want to see them go even higher to benefit, these kind of data centers.
So we have so much more to talk about there. So we'd need a sequel. As we wrap up, I want to do a very quick 30-second concluding lightning round game of Would You Rather. Are you ready?
Oh my God, I've done this since college.
That's why it's fun. Would you rather? The questions are going to be different and not as fun, but definitely PG, suitable for work. Would you rather be completely dependent on a resilient national grid or generate all your own power off-grid?
B.
Would you rather partner more with the federal government or other corporations?
B.
Would you rather spend an hour in Climate Week UNGA traffic or 45 minutes on the subway?
Definitely e-bike, C.
That's not how this game is played, but okay, since that's a good answer. Would you rather have an AI model that always agrees with you or always pushes back on you?
I want an AI model that
That's not how this
helps
game is
us.
played. Okay, would you rather see the past or change the future?
Change the future.
With that, thank you very much, Neil.